Hey everyone, welcome to tonight's vlog, or this morning's vlog. It is now approaching 3 a.m. on the 24th of January 2024. It's just now starting to snow. The snow will probably get worse as we go up in elevation. Only a couple inches are expected, but who knows how much more will actually happen up here in the mountains. We're now driving behind Mount Washington on the highest elevation plowed road on the East Coast in the United States. So this is called, I think, Route 16 in New Hampshire. It will climb to the highest elevation of any plowed road. And you see there's not many tire tracks. I think there's one set of tire tracks. The rest of that is just salt in the dips of the road. And it's 3 in the morning, so I don't mind being on the road when it's might be slippery because there's no other cars around. I trust my driving enough that I won't get into a crash, but I don't trust other people going fast around corners or not leaving enough braking distance. So we're going to see how treacherous the road gets by the time we get to the highest elevation point. So the actual highest elevation road is the Mount Washington Auto Road, which has now been closed for months because the top of Mount Washington has a ton of snow. You might remember I made a few videos over the summer going up there. I was surprised. The original video I made of that road was actually, a lot of people really liked that video. I believe it got like 250,000 people watching it. I made a second video of it going up there during the fall foliage. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of wildfire smoke, but you were able to see the entire valley was bright orange looking down at it. Now that road's closed. I think you can go halfway up it with their snowcat if you pay for the ride. They don't bring anyone all the way up unless you pay a ton of money to stay at the weather station. It's for safety reasons. There's been idiots in the past that have wandered off and died because it's severely cold up there with extreme wind at the top of the mountain. And that's the reason the cog railway train doesn't go to the top in the winter, because people might wander off. I really wish they would go to the top and just make people sign a waiver, but they don't. The train will only go halfway in the winter. For many years, they didn't go up at all in the winter. They just completely shut down, but they recently started going halfway again for tourists to take pictures. You can still get a pretty good view halfway, but I haven't been on that train since I was 3. I might do it again this upcoming year. That might be exciting to try. But I want to take the steam locomotive. They're mostly diesel now, but I think that's more fun, you know? More nostalgic, a steam engine going up. They run that train. For a while, they were only running it once a day because it gets in the way of all the other trains. It would be the first engine up, first engine back down, because it gets in the way. It's slower. It takes, I think, almost twice the time to go up there. But a lot of tourists really like the steam train more than the diesels, so they started sending it up now twice or even 3 times a day between the diesels. The diesels are more efficient. If you take a diesel train, it'll bring you to the top. It will leave with different passengers, allowing you to be up at the top for a good amount of time. Then you go back down on a different locomotive. With the steam train, it goes to the top, it lets you off for 20 minutes, then you have to get back on the same train because there's not another steam train to bring you back down like back in the day. And I think back in the day, they make you get on the same train anyways. I don't think they rotated them like that. They have a lot of diesels now. They didn't have a ton of steam trains back then. They do have a lot of locomotives now because that railway has become more and more popular over the years. But then there's also, other than the auto road, the second highest elevation, which is called Jefferson Notch Road. That's a seasonal road, which sometimes they accidentally don't shut the gate, and many people get into accidents on that road, including myself. There was one time going down that road, which is extremely steep. There was ice underneath the snow. Suddenly, the whole road wasn't icy, but I slid off the road and damaged the bumper, and I had to replace the windshield wiper fluid tank. It punctured that. Thankfully, it didn't damage the radiator or anything expensive, but that was the only time I've ever got in an accident. But they accidentally leave that road open. It is supposed to be shut down in the end of October, but they oftentimes leave the gate wide open. Don't know why. Anyways, this road here, even though it goes very high, it's not extremely steep. Sometime I want to go on some of the highest elevation plowed roads out west. Those ones you actually would have to chain up. And they have signs flashing that say mandatory chain up, even for the four-wheelers, not just the 18-wheelers. Everyone has to chain up on those roads if the lights are flashing, because they're so steep and dangerous when it starts snowing. Now it just started snowing again. There's not many people on these roads, so we'll put the off-road light on for a little bit. Although, just like driving through fog, that makes it so I can't see as well, so I'm gonna shut it back off. Just started snowing moderately. Now that we're going up in elevation, the snow's starting to pick up. Supposedly, they say when you're driving, being hydrated keeps you alert, and being hungry will keep you alert too. Because back to human instincts, if you're hungry, you'll be more alert because you have to hunt food. But if you eat, especially fattening food, it'll make you tired. See how much the temperature drops. It's now 28. When I started, it was 34. Let's see how cold it'll get as we gain elevation. Yeah, I definitely can't keep the no off-road light, and I am also shutting the high beam off. Let's turn the fog lights on. That helps a lot with visibility. See the markings in the road right now. Yep, you can no longer see the lanes. Let's try to get over this mountain before the roads get really bad. I don't think it'll be as bad once we get back down the other side on the way back into Maine. Once we get to the end of this road, I don't know what town I'm in right now, honestly. I just drove through North Conway to get to this road because I drove the Kankamangas Highway also tonight. Was not yet snowing, just a little flurries. Now right now the whole road's pure white. You cannot tell where the lines are at all. I think at least this is still double lane, but I'll just stay right here in the middle because I'm not sure. Can't see anything there. Let me show you how much it's actually snowing. If I turn the off-road light on, see? It's snowing a lot, but you can't see much, or I can't see much, so shut that off. No other tire marks. This is what I like driving in the snow, and there's no one that can slide into you. I hate driving in like cities and traffic when there's snow on the road, because there's a lot of morons. You see a lot of crashes on days like that. So right now I'm really relying on the reflectors and stuff. The snowbank on the road helps a lot also as marking. But it's not whiteout conditions, thankfully. It'll take a bit longer to go over the mountain because it's snowing. Speed limits on these roads I think are 55, but now I'm going 45. On the way down the other side, I will do a couple brake checks to make sure I have traction. It's snowing even more now. Take a look. Double lane again, I'm not sure. Going around some sharp corners. Slowing it down a little bit. Now, that's a pull off. Remember, cameras can see through rain, snow, or fog better than the human eye. So in person, this is a lot harder to see. I can see the flakes, but the camera doesn't seem to see them unless I turn the light on. Now you can see how much it's snowing. And it's probably 2-3 times worse visibility in real life. The roads will be in better shape when we get back down off the mountain. We're not quite to the highest point yet. I think the highest point is where the hiking trail starts. What's that? There's a box in the road. I'm curious. What's in that box? There was one time I actually found some cool stuff in a box like that. See what's in that box real quick. Then we'll head down. There's that box. Thankfully there's no one on the roads. Just out of curiosity, I want to see what's in that box. Oh, it's empty. I don't even have to get out. Thank you, wind. Well, I guess it was 2 lanes. There's a sign telling me the slow lane. No, I think that is a climbing lane, probably. Going down a little, but I think we'll go up a little more first. In the distance, I can see a glow of light pollution. I think that's the town of Gorham. Or is that a city? I think it's a town. Berlin, New Hampshire, they consider a city, although it's very tiny. Alright, this I think is the highest point now. The visitor center right there is where you start the hiking trail on the steep side of the mountain. The steep side of the mountain has Tuckerman Ravine and Huntington Ravine. Huntington Ravine is arguably one of the most dangerous trails in the White Mountains. And the reason is because it's extremely steep. You go straight up. And if you're in good shape, it's the fastest way to get up the mountain. One time I did that, and I actually have a video of the whole trip going up, showing the trail conditions. Took me about 3 hours to get up. I started at 4 in the morning, hiked the first hour of it or so in the dark, and got to the top of the mountain. There was no one there. Employees weren't there yet. The trains weren't running. The visitor center was closed. It was abandoned, the top of the mountain. Auto road wasn't open yet. Usually it's flooded with tourists. It was amazing to see the top of the mountain and being a ghost town. And yeah, that was really cool to see that. And I got back down to the bottom of the mountain by like 9 in the morning. It was cool. And that was a fun trip to do it like that. Then that was the Huntington. There were dangerous parts. I climbed at the Huntington Ravine, but I did not go back down that same trail because the wind picked up, it started raining. And some of those places, the rocks get so slippery that it's literally hard to hold on to them. You could fall. It's dangerous, slippery trail. This wind is making it kind of hard to see the road too. This gusting wind blowing the snow, drifting snow. So I went back down the Tuckerman Ravine Trail, which is not as steep. I'm going to do a quick brake check just to make sure. Yeah, there's barely any snow on the road. It's just the coating. No traction issues yet. So the Huntington Ravine Trail is slightly longer, but still pretty quick. The other side, they have the Ammonoosuc Ravine Trail, which is going to take you about, depending on your hiking skill, it takes me about 12 hours or so, maybe a little less, because that one is very long but gradual, nothing steep. But you will have to climb over quite a few boulders because the whole top of the mountain is just a pile of boulders. Oh, there's a light coming. Finally, a car. We already got the high beams off. Well, I guess it's not snowing that bad. It slowed down quite a bunch. It's not blinding me right now. The snow let up a little bit. It's so quiet. There's no road noise. That little coating of snow is making, it's like insulation from the road. Anytime it snows, everything's quiet. Even if you live in a noisy city, the snow falling acts like insulation in the air. It makes everything really quiet, which is nice. Just like when you sleep in an igloo, it's very good insulation, snow and ice. Also, when people are out and snow blowing, your neighbors, it's muffled if it's still snowing, because it muffles any kind of noise. Typically, at least where I live, if you live in a city, or the city I used to live in, no, actually, that stupid city, they didn't care. But most cities, if there's a winter storm warning, or I think any storm warning or advisory, 24 hours after it ends, you are allowed to make noise despite any ordinance, because you got to clean up that storm. If it just snowed a ton, people have to get to work, so you obviously have to get out there and use the snow blowers at 4 in the morning if you have to be to work at 5. So those are the exceptions to the noise ordinance for those reasons. I do believe the city I used to live in still had an issue with noise at night, but I don't think, it was never enforced. I would use snow blowers at any hour of the night, and you could not hear those in the house unless someone had windows open. But not many people keep windows open in the winter. I do. Sometimes I leave them cracked for some fresh air because the wood stove is overwhelming. Or if it's just hot, I'll let some air out. Now the snow is tapered a bunch, not snowing as much. Probably just snowing a lot up at the top of the mountain. Earlier in the night, it wasn't snowing much, but the radar said it was snowing, because the radar can pick up on snow falling that's not hitting the ground. If the air is very dry, even snow can evaporate before it gets to the ground. The ice pellets can still evaporate and dissolve as they're falling. Still being very slow around these corners. It's not the steepest hill, but it is a long hill. Not steep, you won't burn your brakes up. Just tapping, pumping the brakes is enough for these hills. Right there's a bunch of trucks, maybe people camping, like on the trails or something, backpacking in the winter. There was also a couple campers parked there for the night. Keep it slow around these twists. here, do a quick brake check just to make sure. Zero slippage. The studs on the tires are doing their job. Now if you have ice, actual ice, I noticed the studs, they help a little. You can definitely see the scratch marks on the surface of the ice, but they don't do as much as you would think. They're definitely better than non-studded, but doesn't do as much as you would think. I did realize having a heavier truck does help them dig in a little better than my last vehicle on an icy road. Helps a little having extra weight, but that can also work against you. It's harder for a heavy vehicle to start sliding, but once it starts sliding, it's a lot harder to stop than a lighter vehicle. It's tapered enough now. Got a couple areas, maybe that's salt, maybe it's active groundwater keeping the surface warm. I got some active groundwater at my house, and there's a couple rocks that I'm assuming are very big that are able to touch the active groundwater many feet underground, but they're flat and I can mow over them. But those rocks, no matter how cold it is in the winter, snow will not stick to them. It melts immediately when it touches them. A couple rocks in the yard. Well, actually, if it's negative 40 for a couple of days, snow will stick to it. Then once it gets a little warmer, but still below freezing, that rock will defrost itself, which is kind of interesting. Wonder how big they are. I know when I had a little bit of drain work done around the foundation last year, the guy told me I could pay a couple $1,000 more and have him bring out a gigantic excavator, which would need a wide load permit. That's why it's so much more. And I told him no. I just did what he said, and I did a couple 45-degree angles and just went around the rock, which was like the size of a car. But yeah, that was the right choice to make. Just go around the rock instead of removing it. The rock was too big. The reason why, like if you go on eBay and stuff, not eBay, Craigslist, there's a lot of excavators for sale. The small ones are very expensive because they're wanted by people. Any ones that have a track base of less than 8.5 feet, people really want them because you can put them on a trailer, move them around to job sites without a problem. But why are the extremely big, bulky excavators pretty cheap? The reason is because every time you put it on a trailer and move it to another job site, if it's beyond 8.5 feet, it requires a wide load permit, which can cost thousands of dollars just for the one day of moving it around. Obviously, if you're using a machine that big, it's probably an expensive job where a couple grand wouldn't make a difference on a really expensive excavation job, but that's the reason why people don't want them, and they're cheap on Craigslist. This costs a lot to move it around. But if you have a huge property and you want a toy to tinker with, I've seen gigantic excavators. I don't know if they're 30-ton big ones. I've seen them as cheap as like $10,000. Obviously, they're not brand new. They're like 30 years old. But if you replace all the hoses and stuff, the engines on those are oftentimes a lot better. Because they're bulky and they probably haven't been moved around a lot because of the permit thing, a lot of them have very little runtime, which is a good thing. Those older ones have had really good engines, and they're probably a lot more durable. I'll keep filming until we get to Gorham. Oh, the snow's picking up. Perfect timing to put the high beams off. Snow is tapering a lot. I think it's because I'm going down in elevation. The snow hasn't really picked up down here yet. The air, I think, is still absorbing some of it before it can get to the ground. Gotta slow it down a little around these corners. Roads aren't slippery yet. Oh, but anyways, back to that box that was in the middle of the road. I have found boxes that have fallen out of trucks before. Nothing really that cool, but one time I found a bunch of fake stonework. I guess you'd put on a house instead of siding, or it's siding that looks like stonework, or maybe it was meant to go around a garden. I don't know. It looked like it was siding. Found a box of that. Had no use for it. Brought it to a donation bin. And one other time, my grandpa found a box on the side of the road. He stopped to look in it. It was a brand new pair of chainsaw pants, which are very expensive. I have some chainsaw like overalls. They clip around your leg. They only protect the front where the saw would hit. Those ones he found were actual pants. I should take them sometime. He said that they don't fit him. They're pretty big, but they'd fit me probably perfectly because I'm taller. But those are actual pants, which are more expensive. So I should probably go check those out. But the boxes I always found on the side of the road, they never have addresses or anything. They fall out of usually like a contractor's truck, and the only label is the label of the factory where it came from, or whatever Home Depot it was picked up from, stuff like that. Over the years, I found, I think, 3 wallets. And wallets, you can go ahead and throw them into a post office box, any of those blue boxes, and the post office for free will return it to wherever it came from. And we've done that a few times. Or before I knew the post office did that, I would just drop it off at whatever town police department it was in. One time I found just a driver's license from someone from Florida, so I put it in an envelope with a note saying I found it and sent it back. And I remember years ago there was one time my dad found someone's wallet. He returned it to the local police department and they took down his name and stuff, and they returned it to whoever it was. The person asked who returned it. The department gave that person my dad's name and address, and they sent him a $50 Dunkin' Donuts gift card for returning it. Alright, we've just entered the town of Gorham. I know I'd be pretty pissed if I lost my wallet just because of the pain of having to cancel cards and get a new driver's license, passport, that kind of stuff in there. Passport card, be a whole process replacing all that stuff. So I wouldn't even care if someone took whatever money's in there and just return the wallet. It would save a lot of heartache. But apparently people are more honest than you think. I saw a guy on YouTube, Mark Rober's video. He took a bunch of wallets, left them in random places, cities that are known for stealing, and good places too, and I think the vast majority of them actually got returned. Alright, so this right here is the bottom of Route 16. Yeah, Route 16 I think continues to the left. We're gonna turn right because this goes back into Maine in a couple of miles. And I think I'll end our vlog here, everyone. I hope tonight's snowstorm vlog was interesting, or this early morning snowstorm vlog was interesting, everyone. It's about 3:30 in the morning. I hope today's video was interesting, everybody. Thanks for watching and have a great day.